Hello, welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live. My name is Daniel Combe. Delighted as ever to be joined by the one and only Keith Jackson. Keith, how's it going?
Well, Daniel.
It's you.
And I think that you caught up earlier with Craig Swan, who was at Tynecastle, or should that be Craig come back to me at Christmas, Swan?
And we cover that, don't worry, that comes up.
I'll be really interested to see how he handles that question today, because it's official. We really do have a genuine, credible title challenge coming from Tynecastle. I really thought going into this game that Hearts would put a marker down and win it. It was the manner of the victory.
Yeah.
I thought all over the pitch, they were all over Celtic. They were swarming over them. They wanted it more, which is a real concern for Celtic. I thought there was a period, obviously Hearts come flying out the traps. And then there was a period, well, it looked to me as if Callum McGregor took it upon himself to lead Celtic back into the game. He had this period of 15, 20 minutes where he was out of this world, best player on the pitch, and Hearts couldn't deal with him. And obviously he gets the equaliser. And then I thought for a good 15 minutes after the equaliser, again, it was everyone was coming through Callum McGregor. Everything good that Celtic did was coming through the captain. And at that point, you're kind of looking, going, all right, okay, this old story was Celtic find themselves with their back against the wall, and guys like Callum McGregor, who have been over the course and distance, pick it up and respond and take their levels to another kind of bit entirely. That's what I thought was happening. For Hearts to then regroup in the manner that they did, they ended the half on the front foot. They had Celtic rattled all over again. So when not even Callum McGregor at his best and most inspirational can get Celtic out of a hole, that tells you something about this Hearts side. I thought they responded terrifically. They were the better team towards half time, and they just absolutely battered Celtic around the place after the break. And you look now at the Celtic team, you know, there are big absentees there, isn't there? When you look at the guys that aren't available, Cameron Carter-Vickers, your Alistair Johnsons, Jota, Maeda, and these are major performers for Celtic, and they could be without at least a few of them for quite some considerable time. I think this is starting to look like a really difficult third season for Brendan Rodgers. You wonder where his head's at, because of the contractual stuff, because of the fact that his own board is bitching about him behind his back. All these contributory factors lead me to believe that Hearts, I'm not saying they're going to win this title, but I believe that there's an opportunity. I believe that what was the phrase that I said? That they're not exactly pushing at an open door.
Yeah.
Now I'm starting to wonder if they might be. The state that Rangers, I know the Rangers got a victory, and we'll talk about that today, much needed. But actually, you're looking at that, and the result at Ibrox Rangers versus Kilmarnock, it's not, I'm going to say it's almost not relevant to the title race. Then you look at it right enough, and I think the points gap, what is it now between Celtic and Rangers? 5?
I think so, yeah.
So, you know, maybe Rangers could still come from nowhere. But I just look at everything that Hearts are doing, everything that they're getting right. And it really does feel as if the stars are aligning for Derek McInnes here. He's got a real credible chance.
Well, look, there's plenty of comments coming in already. They're pouring in, Keith. And if you're watching at home, you want to let us know not just your thoughts on Hearts' title challenge and the win over Celtic, but anything else that's happened in the Premiership over the weekend. We will talk about Rangers later on, as Keith says. But one of the themes in the comments that are coming in already, Keith, Craig says, Brendan Rodgers picking Dane Murray over Trusty is a joke. I was backing Rodgers over the board, but now I think Brendan is half right, half to blame also. I mean, that was a really big call, putting in Dane Murray.
It's a massive call, especially when you consider that if we are right and if the Celtic board have sort of pivoted away from the sort of transfer model that Brendan Rodgers would prefer, which was what happened last summer when he was, you know, £26 million spent on 3 players, Austin Trusty being one of them. So in this situation today, I think everybody would 99% of people out there would have thought that Trusty was pretty much a stick-on to come into the team. What does it tell you about the judgment that's been made there? And if anything, if you're the Celtic board, you think, well, actually that validates the decision not to go Brendan Mark II in the summer. I mean, they didn't do anything. It wasn't as if they even reenacted or re-enabled their old model. They just did nothing in the transfer window. But if there was to be an argument as to why they can't put their faith and their money behind a Brendan Rodgers transfer window, it's examples just like that. The £6 million a guy, and you're playing a youngster in front of him, and it was a big ask today for Dave Murray, and I felt for him. The own goal's a horror story, isn't it?
There's the own goal, obviously the penalty. See, again, I'm not picking on him because I think he still will be a brilliant player, Dave Murray. But see, if you even look back at the second goal, he dives out of the way.
He brings his leg away from it. Did you see the reaction from Kasper Schmeichel?
Aye.
He's furious because he knows that. Look, I'm not going to hammer the young boy. He's had a difficult afternoon there today. But yeah, all he needs to do is move his right leg, not even half a foot, and he would block the shot. But he actually moved away from it, which is exactly what you don't want your centre half to do in a situation like that. So yeah, look, he'll hopefully recover, learn his lessons, come back stronger, all the usual cliches. But that was a bit traumatic for him today. But I tell you what, you don't point the finger at Dane Murray for that one. One, you could argue, you point the finger at the manager for selection, but how many of the bigger players out there, the experienced guys, the guys that you would be looking for, the only one that I saw that lived up to what you would expect of Celtic in that situation was Callum McGregor. I saw other guys there today go hiding in plain sight, and that's a huge concern. You wonder now if there's some of these Celtic players that are just going through the most. You wonder if there's, and there's reason to believe there's two or three of them that don't want to be there anymore. So where's their heart when you're in a fight? Because that's what Celtic are in right now. And the only guy that I saw that was prepared to stand up to it today, as I said, was Callum McGregor. He can't do it all on his own. Hearts were too good. And you look at what Hearts had in midfield. Beningberry and the Aussie boy, name escapes me.
Cammy Devlin.
They were absolutely immense, the pair of them. Covered every blade of grass, the energy that they put into it. And you could see Cal McGregor looking about going, guys, I'm going to need a bit of help here. Yeah. Because there was no containing these two, especially when they really got on top of it in the second half. I just thought they were immense all over the pitch, Hearts today. They've got threats in the final third. They've got a real combative, high intensity to the work in the middle of the pitch. Two centre halves that are absolute raw seal. They're in a really good place.
Well, look, I tell you what, why don't you mentioned, obviously, we heard a little bit earlier on from Craig Swan and Ryan McDonald who were at the game. Shall we get their take on the events at Tynecastle?
Craig, come back to me at Christmas. Swan, yes, please.
Let's see what they had to say a little earlier. Joined in the hotline live now by Record Sports' Craig Swan and Ryan McDonald. Guys, a huge, potentially monumental win for Hearts, but another awful day for Celtic.
I suppose I should probably start off by Hearts, who were absolutely brilliant today, especially second half. The first half was, I thought it was pretty even. I thought Hearts started the game well, the way you would have expected with the confidence that they've got at the moment. But fair play to Celtic, they responded to losing a goal, got themselves level, and to be honest then, had a good chunk of the game and looked like they might be the ones that might go on. And listen, I'm sure Celtic supporters will probably look back tonight at the massive moment when Benjamin Negan had a chance to score to make it 2-1 just before half-time. Half-time, you couldn't really call it. I think Ryan would probably agree with me. I think we spoke at half-time. It was up for grabs. And one team went and took the initiative. One team went and grabbed it. And that was Hearts. And the momentum is really building for them, Daniel. It is really building for them. And I'm just waiting for Jacko to cricket back me with a Christmas thing at some point. But listen,
Sorry, Swan, I didn't mean to jump in. We've already had a comment in from a listener who says, let me find it. Luke Robinson says, Swanee has said several times, wait until Christmas. Surely now you must concede Hearts are firm favourites to win the title as we sit here today.
Well, I'm not sure if the caller knows, but Christmas has moved this year. It's actually October the 28th. So I think I was actually correct in this one. Yeah, listen, you've got to be prepared to hold your hands up. And at this moment in time, it's starting to look like it's genuine. But listen, no one at Hearts is going to say that. Derek McInnes is certainly not going to say it and isn't saying it. So he was very much at pains to say there's 29 games to go. So plenty of time to go yet, but they couldn't have started any better.
As far as Celtic goes, Ryan, what did you think of Brendan Rodgers' team selection? Obviously, Dane Murray had a day to forget, to say the least. Even Colby Donovan as well, having the two young boys out on the right-hand side of the defence. Didn't really work out for them, did it?
I must admit, I've been singing Dane Murray's praises since pre-season. I really like the cut of his job. I think he's had a good summer with,
Me too.
With Celtic. Whenever he's stepped in, he's looked okay. I think he's got all the attributes to be a really good defender. He's strong, he's muscly, bit of a powerhouse. But he had a shocker today. You can't deny that. I thought Colby Donovan as well. To be honest, I would have probably picked him ahead of Tony Ralston. I thought it was telling when Donovan came off the bench ahead of Ralston on Thursday night. And to be honest, he's done nothing wrong, so he deserves a run in the team if Johnson's going to be out again. But yeah, it was just I think Dane Murray was obviously unfortunate with that one goal, and then he was caught out with the penalty as well, which was a shame for him. But you look at the team selection. To be honest, I don't know what you think. Swanee, maybe Austin Trusty ahead of Dane Murray in retrospect might have been the best way to go. But I think what Brendan Rodgers said before and after the game was that he wanted a balance at the centre back. He doesn't want two left-footed defenders, central defenders, which is why Dane Murray was kind of thrown into the deep end, if you like. So yeah, I think maybe Austin Trusty was maybe the only call which he would maybe rethink. But I think Dane Murray's going to get a run in the team, to be honest, despite his mistakes. I think him and Colby Donovan will start on Wednesday.
You know, these things are like, Daniel, half the supporters will think to themselves, that's the manager sending a message to the board. He's telling them that's what he's been left with. He's been left with kids. Why is he not playing his £6 million centre half? Why is he not playing in Scotland International? The other half will say, if you look at the selections, as Ryan says, on an individual basis, the manager clearly likes Dane Murray, thinks he's a right-hand sider, which is probably better if he's got Liam Scales, a left-hand sider on the other side. And he thinks, clearly, he's spoken highly of Colby Donovan, as Ryan knows all the way through, and he obviously thinks that's a better bet. I can understand, given the situation Celtic were in, missing a lot of experienced players, why you would maybe consider, not the choices individually, but as a collective, that maybe two kids in there coming here might not have been the wisest. It's okay with hindsight, but I think we even said it before the game, but even if you think Murray's maybe a better bet than Trusty, or Donovan's maybe a better bet than Ralston, just for experience, it might have been an idea just to pick one of the senior guys, if not both.
Now, the thing is, I can understand the argument from Brendan Rodgers when he does talk about the balance, because obviously Celtic wanted to put out from the back, two left-footed centre-backs isn't ideal. But Trusty and Liam Scales were excellent in the Champions League last year. Keeping clean sheets away to Dino Zagreb.
That's a very good point.
So, they've already kind of formed that partnership last season, so I wouldn't be, so reluctant to obviously partner him up again this year. Obviously, Austin Trusty hasn't played in a while. He's got that troublesome foot injury, so you're a bit rusty, if you like. But I just feel sorry for Dane Murray, to be honest, today. I hope it doesn't shatter his confidence. I know he's 22, so he's not exactly a kid. But this was his big opportunity. He didn't go to plan, but I'm sure he'll have plenty of opportunities ahead, especially with Cameron Carter-Vickers out for 5 months.
We obviously mentioned Brendan Rodgers there, guys. What was he like after the game and the presser?
Now, this is what I was saying to Swanee. I mean, for whatever reason, he seemed very reluctant to kind of label Hearts as genuine title contenders. What would you think?
I agree with Ryan. He's almost dismissing it, and I said to Ryan after, I think that's the wrong thing to do.
That's weird.
I think there's football psychology involved here, and Brendan Rodgers is a master at this kind of stuff, and he's kind of playing them down, and it's early doors. Brendan Rodgers knows better than me. See, if that's me, I'm saying Hearts are the real deal. We've got them to catch now. They're the team that's saying, and pile some pressure on the Hearts and make them feel like, oh, right, okay. But listen, as I say, Brendan Rodgers knows better than me, but if it was me, I'd have been praising Hearts to the hilt.
I'm just a bit surprised. If this was Rangers 8 points clear, then you know, it's a different ballgame. But because Hearts, you know, seems quite reluctant to quite, you know, to label them as title contenders. Maybe he's looked at Aberdeen last season and saw they kind of fell off a cliff. But I think Hearts are a totally different animal, as they proved, as they proved today.
Yeah.
They're the real deal. I think they're going to. I mean, if they can manage to keep this lead or even extend it by Christmas, wow, Celtic have got a long way to go to all that.
And the fascinating flip side to it is, Daniel, Derek McInnes did exactly the opposite. He did what we're talking about. Oh, Celtic can still spend millions.
Yeah.
They've got loads in the bag. They can do this. They can sign this. They've got loads of advantages over the rest of us. He's keeping it off his team and trying to keep it on to Celtic. You're the big team here. You're the big club with all the money. You should be doing this and that. I mean, his quotes after the match I thought were fascinating when he talked about that. The huge advantages that they have over everyone in the league. I thought that was fascinating.
Do you think he's saying that internally, or do you think he's telling them, listen, boys, that was a real statement when today we've got a chance?
I think what managers tell us public what they tell their players are two very different things on a daily basis.
I mean, everyone at Hearts must truly believe in this. This could be the year. They'll never have a better chance, Daniel. They never will. Rangers and Celtic in disarray. Hearts are on the rise. The atmosphere today, once especially when they get that second goal, it was electric. And with this crowd, with this magnificent stadium, I don't think any team will fancy their chances coming here. They can really make us a fortress this year.
Yeah, there still is a wee bit of an edge here, Daniel. I must admit, I did notice in the derby when it was kind of 0-0, so 40, 50, 60 minutes. It wasn't as boisterous as you would expect it to be. And at 1-1 today, there was almost that kind of edge. Oh no, is this the day when the bubble bursts? No. As Ryan says, when the second goal goes in, then it takes off again. But the Hearts fans will know the time that the team need them is at one each.
We've only got a minute or two left, guys, but I suppose you've kind of stolen my thunder there, Swanee. It was almost a year to the day. You and I had a chat like this outside Pittodrie. Aberdeen had just beaten Rangers to go 9 points clear of them, joint top with Celtic. In the end, they finished 39 points behind Celtic and 20 odd behind Rangers. But watching that on the telly today, I don't know if it felt the same in the stadium. This feels like a real, genuine assault from Hearts.
Here's the huge difference. Last year, Celtic won 16 in their first 18 league games and drew the other 2. Yeah. That Celtic team last season looked like it could win 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 games in a row.
Yeah.
That Celtic team that played today and played at Dundee last Sunday do not look as though they could win 2 or 3 games in a row. That's the difference this year.
I completely agree, guys. It's an absolute pleasure as always having you in the hotline. Safe travels up the road.
Thank you.
All the best.
Cheers, guys. Craig Swan and Ryan McDonald there. Keith, I've got tons of comments coming in. Will I throw a few at you?
Yeah, go for it.
Davey Hoops is one of a number of fans pointing the finger at Brendan Rodgers. For me, that's Brendan Rodgers. Any time I've seen Murray, he's a bomb scare. Trusting Scales did a great job last season, especially against Atalanta. He's experienced today. Still don't think we would have won, but we've not conceded 3. Bob says 2 sackings tonight, Jimmy Tilleen and Brendan Rodgers. This one, let me have a look. Sorry, my screen actually froze on me, so if you want to jump in there, Keith.
I wouldn't have actually put Brendan Rodgers and Jimmy Tilleen in the same bracket right now.
That's a good point, very good point.
But yeah, look, pressure's on. Pressure's mounting. And it's mounting because some of the points the boys made there I thought were spot on. Mm-hmm. I think Ryan was absolutely correct to point to the Champions League last season when Trusty and Scales formed that partnership. It didn't look imbalanced during those games. And Trusty is actually a very capable penalty box defender, isn't he? The sort of, which is probably what Celtic really needed today.
Yeah.
And then, Swanee's point about Christmas in October was a very good point. He thought he handled that really well. But mostly, I keep coming back to it. Yes, Hearts are taking care of everything that Hearts need to take care of, but it's what's happening elsewhere that makes this feel different. It's what's happening at Celtic. It's what's happening at Rangers. It makes the whole thing a very different proposition. And I think on top of all that, this Hearts squad is in a far better, stronger place than Aberdeen were at the start of last season. And they've got a manager who's been over the course and distance, knows this league like the back of his hand, and has proven himself to be a really capable guy. And we talk about sliding doors moments in football and all this, and I know, certainly we Scotty McDermott, and there's been a few, myself included, found it difficult to believe that Rangers didn't even inquire about Derek McInnes when they were looking for a manager.
There's a lot of comments in about that tonight as well, Keith.
Well, you look at it now and you wonder, did he actually dodge a bit of a bullet there? In terms of, had he gone into Rangers and it didn't feel right, and there's the issues, the structural issues in there, it might have blown up. Yet here he is with a clear run at this now with Hearts. And this particular season, which might just be a bit freakish and a bit one-offish, given that it's very unusual for Celtic and Rangers both to be, harming themselves so prolifically at this stage. Rangers got a result today. Celtic have got issues. There's a lot of issues there, and 1-1 for Rangers isn't really going to change anything. I think that they've got come back to me. I'll do a Craig Swan in that if they go through to Easter Road and follow back up today's win with another win, then you can start to say maybe they can build some momentum. But right now, I think it's one game at a time for Rangers, just trying to adapt under Danny Rowe and get his messaging on board. Celtic are the ones that you would say, if anybody's going to stop Hearts, it has to be Celtic. Celtic, as Swanee says, they don't look like a team right now. They're a million miles removed from that team that you would look at and say, well, they'll probably go on a run now of 10 straight wins, a dozen straight wins. That looks highly unlikely from this side.
No chance of that. My comments are working again, so let me throw a few of these at you. Tynecastle Talk says, this was a great advert. First half for Scottish football, we felt Hearts started to dominate the second half, which was the difference. This one, Bob, says, Hearts were superb today, full of verve, energy and application. Hallmarks of the McInnes team. Harry says, Hearts were a Bugatti Veyron. A lot of Celtic fans, look, I'm going to be honest, there's more Celtic fans in the comments feeling still really quite confident than I expected today, to be honest. I mean, this one here, Paul says, Hearts will fall away in December when it's 2 games a week, but good to have a title challenge for a change. Even a friend's Rangers Easy OK as well said, Hearts' backsides will melt in December. David says, when all is said and done, Celtic will be champions again this year. I mean, I understand history suggests that, but I don't know, something about this just feels different to me.
Yeah, well, for this freakish fairy tale to actually come to fruition, it's going to take all sorts of different things to as I said, just to come into alignment. And, it does feel as if at this moment in time, everything that would be necessary for it to happen is happening. In terms of, even Celtic, they can't catch a break. They've got their issues, and then all of a sudden they go into that European game and they lose 2, huge first name in the team sheet performers, and we don't know, the length of time that they're going to be looking at for Cameron Carter-Vickers and Alistair Johnson. One recognised centre forward of any sort of experience out. He's out with a hamstring. So, right as things stand at this minute in time, Brendan Rodgers is having to fill the team with players that, under normal circumstances, wouldn't be anywhere near a Celtic starting 11. So that means, for as long as that continues, there is going to be this opportunity for Hearts to set the pace and continue to set the pace. I don't think it's going to be plain sailing. Hearts will drop points. Swanee's saying there, and he's quite right, about there will be an atmosphere inside the stadium. Well, everybody's enjoying it, but there will be that nervousness, because this almost feels it's too good to be true right now for the Hearts fans, and that will translate into a nervous energy inside the stadium, and they're going to have to try and, I don't know how you do it, if they can find a way to park that and just enjoy it and go full throttle, because that's when Tynecastle is absolutely at its best. But in terms of the early momentum and everything that Hearts have managed to do, whether it's Tony Bloom making the really obvious decision to go for Derek McInnes, he didn't need to run that one past the data crunchers and the boffins in the computer room for that was just obvious. But by the way, they did run it through the analytics, Derek McInnes, and he still come up as the one the computer would have probably went. So yeah, the signings look really good, incredible level of success rate with the signings brought in. Celtic have the opportunity, as Derek McInnes is saying, to go again in January. But how does that look and feel when relations seem to be really strained between the dressing room and the boardroom, or the dugout and the boardroom? So all these different factors that would need to happen in order for Hearts to become Scotland's Leicester City, they're all in play at the minute. And that's actually quite spectacular in itself.
I completely agree. Aye. It's a very interesting time. Well, a couple of comments coming in. Again, I'll throw at you, Keith. Rangers Easy OK says, "Come on now, Keith. I like McInnes, but if we wanted him, he would have came. He wouldn't have knocked back Rangers for a second time. I know this for a fact." And there's a lot of people debating that as well.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because Rangers didn't make the call.
Well, that's exactly
it. That's the style. Whether or not Derek McInnes would have taken the job, wouldn't have taken the job, who knows? But the fact of the matter is that Rangers didn't even ask the question, which is really quite. I don't know how you would describe it.
Baffling.
Well, yeah, it's a head scratcher, but it kind of feeds back into this idea that the people that are making these decisions at Rangers right now seem to think, the English market is where all the success lies. There's nothing to be had in your own doorstep.
Before we move on to Rangers, Keith, a couple of final comments. Ninipan wants to know, is this the worst Old Firm teams both jointly at the same time you've ever seen? If Hearts don't win it this year, they never will. What's your thoughts on that? Can you remember the big two being jointly as ropey?
Well, there was a period in the 80s, obviously, when Aberdeen and Dundee United were, they were the powerhouses. Celtic, Celtic were still a competitive Celtic side. Rangers still had some good players at that time as well. You Bobby Russells and Davy Coopers and all this, but they weren't results-wise. They were miles off it. That Rangers side is I would probably put an argument forward that the 80s Rangers side probably a bit stronger than the current Rangers side, which is something else when you think about the amount of money that's been spent in the summer. No. Celtic had good players, but obviously at that minute in time, at that particular period of the Scottish game, Aberdeen and Dundee United were, they were the real force. They were incredible for a few years.
The new firm.
Aye, but it was exciting. It was really exciting times. And I was brought up obviously west of Scotland, but I was going to school and there were Aberdeen fans. And you're like, how did this happen? but people of my generation, they were growing up and they were wearing Aberdeen shirts to school and all this. So that was an exciting time for Scottish football. And look at what they did, these two teams. Get to European finals, Aberdeen won. I mean, it was...
Dundee United get cheated out of one.
Yeah. It was extraordinary what was going on. Dundee United beating Barcelona. And this is the first time since back then that there's maybe an opportunity for somebody else to kind of rock the table a little bit, rock the tree and see what falls out of it. Hearts are in that position. Derek, the disruptor, sorry. And that's what he's been all his career, the disruptor. He's got an opportunity to go one better than just disrupt now.
Someone in the show said recently, if he did pull this off, he'd be immortal, and I think that's the best way to put it. If he was to be the first guy in 41 years to break the duopoly, I mean, it's hard to even put any words where that would leave him. And just very finally on Keith there on Celtic, Alistair is one of a few people saying, he says Brendan Rodgers' Saudi tour is being brought forward to early January. Look, I've agreed with you when I say, I can't really see him not finishing the season. Do you still feel that way, given today?
But Brendan Rodgers won't resign.
Okay.
He won't. If Celtic decide that they no longer trust him and they no longer want him in the dugout, then that's their call to make. Brendan Rodgers will not go back on his word. There was a moment just shortly after the transfer window where I wondered if he was having second thoughts on that, but I think he took his time to, process the situation that he was in, get a grip with how he was feeling about it, because I think he felt a bit let down. And I think at that point, if there was ever going to be a moment, it would have been then. But I think he's kind of regrouped. He's made the decision that he's not going to reverse ferret on what he said, which is, if Celtic want me here for 3 years, I'll be here for 3 years minimum.
And Mark in the comments, who we know isn't a Brendan Rodgers fan, but he says, Keith, how bad does it have to be for him to get sacked? 8 points behind now, could be 11 and even 14 over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, the Celtic board has a real credibility issue just now and a popularity issue with its own supporters. I don't think the Celtic board can feasibly make that decision, because they'd be terrified about the reaction of the supporters. I know that Mark didn't fancy Brendan Rodgers. I think there's a whole lot more Celtic fans out there would back Brendan Rodgers over the board, and they'd prefer his judgment. And they if the board were to isolate themselves by sacking Brendan Rodgers, then they better have a really incredible top level guy signed, sealed, delivered, and ready to walk in as his replacement. And even then, there'll be Celtic fans that would think it'd be a downgrade. I don't think there's any way in which the Celtic board can make that decision, because they've already infuriated their own supporters. It would be absolutely mutiny if they pulled the trigger on Brendan Rodgers. I just don't see that washing for a second.
Okay, in the comments, Rangers, is he okay? Who's been on a lot today? Right? He says, well done to Danny Rowe, liking his comments post-match, saying we want to play forward, and he isn't welded to one formation. Refreshing change from Russell Martin, baby steps for us, but better performance at last. Obviously, that's off the back of Rangers win over Kilmarnock. Keith, shall we hear a little bit of what the new Rangers manager had to say after the full-time whistle?
Yes.
Let's hear him.
Danny, congratulations on the 3 points. Can you talk us through your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I must really say I enjoyed our performance. Was not everything perfect, but was a good step forward. First win, it's always important for the group to create the confidence. Today I saw much more good things. When you look a little bit back on Thursday, it was a big disappointment, not just from the tactical part, but also how we played intensity. We missed this, and today it's much better, but it's a small step in our journey. We know where we want to go, but it helps to lift also the confidence, the group. And for me, it was important to see a team today on the pitch who was working hard, ready to go, and they saw as well some good individual steps forwards.
You made formation and tactical changes today. Can you talk us through why you did that?
Yeah, I think at first we have to understand I'm not a coach who put the shape over everything. For me, it's about how we play. I think this is important, and the shape is sometimes just a tool to have a good control in the game. We knew the opponent building up very direct with a lot of long balls. I want to have one extra man to cover the header and the deep runs. We had this today. Then we knew the opponent is looking for building up centers with 3, and then it would make it easy for my players to have straight 1-against-1 in first pressing. And then we had a good structure in ball possession with 3 number 10s, 1-6 to speed up the game, take the last line, and in the joker position, I want to have the deep runs in behind. We going better and better in the first half. We had some good moments, but in the second half, I think it was 70 minutes. There was one good example where we really played through the center with up back through situations very quick, and this should be our goal. I want to see a team who has smart, short passes forward, not backwards. Sometimes, of course, we have to prepare, but as soon as possible, the spaces are open, we should attack the first line.
Danny Rowe there, Keith, a 3-1 victory over Kilmarnock, and Yusuf Chermiti, he did a goal. And badly needed one, didn't he? You can imagine Kevin Thelwell celebrating in the director's box when that one hit the back of the net. I think overall, and where the Rangers fans will take early encouragement from Danny Rowe, is there is clearly an emphasis. It's only a couple of games in, but there is an emphasis now on going forward.
And I think that was what made Russell Martin's version of Rangers pretty much unwatchable. It was backwards, it was to the side, it was so slow, it was so ponderous, there was no purpose to anything. It was a horrible watch. So I think the Rangers fans, just getting a guy in that wants the team to get forward, to get on the front foot, to be more aggressive, to be bold. You know, Russell Martin's Rangers were suicidal in terms of the risks they would take in defence, and they were absolutely blunt as anything up the other end of the pitch, where there was no risk getting taken. So all the kind of risk stuff, the high risk stuff, was in front of their own 18-yard box. It was almost like anti-football. You know, how not to coach a team, how not to manage a team, how not to set a team up to play. That's what Rangers were watching under Russell Martin. That's why they found it insufferable. So just to get a guy in that clearly puts an emphasis on getting forward and moving the ball early. That was the other thing about Russell Martin. You would see there would be a ball on, whether it was Gassama or an Antman, somebody out wide. Get the ball out there because you can get some damage now. Russell Martin's Rangers would take 6 passes to get it out there, by which time the opportunity was gone, the space had been shut down. 6 passes where 1 pass would do. And I think that's what you're going to get by the looks of things from Danny Rowley. I think his system will change, his formations will change, but I don't think that will change. I think there will be an emphasis on, you know, moving it quick. Because that's when you can hurt teams, when you're moving them about. It's when you give them time to get set again and for everybody to get back in position. And that's what Rangers did time after time, game after game. And this at least gives them half a chance of you know, doing damage to the opposition's defence and maybe even scoring a few goals. And if Chermiti's now weighing in, well, you know, Danny Rowell's only been in the job a few days, but he's starting to work miracles. Look, it's early days, and as I said to you, I've you know, the experience of watching this group of Rangers players would suggest that you wouldn't put a great deal of money on them going to Easter Road, a place like Easter Road, and coming away with another 3 points. And you know, I'm sure they will have enjoyed that today. It probably reminded them what it's like to feel, you know, winning games of football in front of their own supporters. Can they back that up with another performance, similar levels and nature against Hibs? Well, that'll be fascinating. Because if they do that and they come away from Easter Road with another 3 points, then, as I said, then you start to think, well, maybe all is not lost for them this season. Maybe they can find a way back in. Maybe they can build some momentum. But, you know, they are flaky beyond belief, this group of players. So it'll be fascinating to see if Danny Rowell can find something in them that would give them that level of consistency. I think I'll still come back to, I think it's a real long shot.
I mean, it is obviously really early days, but there does seem to be a newfound confidence amongst the Rangers fans, Keith. This one here,
honestly, Dan, I genuinely think they're just excited to go and watch a team that wants to get forward, as opposed to
you're probably
constantly going back there. I think, you know, that was the main argument with watching Russell Martin stuff. Nothing made sense. At least they're looking now and saying, well, that makes a bit of sense. We might be able to hurt teams if we play more like this.
Yeah. Sniping in the comments says, thought Danilo had a great game today. Blue Nose John says, Chermiti's first touch was so much better. Scott says, much quicker tempo, changed the setup to suit the players. And the blue line is really confident, saying Roll is going to blow Rodgers away at Hampden. Then the league is wide open. Bernardo and Trust there in Rodgers' bad books. Need to replace the centre-back now, never mind Kyogo. I mean, that is going to be fascinating. I mean, in fact, actually, very quickly while we're on this, we can see the midweek fixtures here up on the screen. That is a big one, obviously, at Easter Road, as you say, Keith. But obviously, at the weekend, then we have the Cup semi-final at Hampden. So the next 7 days are going to be absolutely huge.
Well, there's no room for error for either Celtic or Rangers this week. Celtic, home against Falkirk, without being insulting to anybody, you expect that as a 3-point banker. And anything less than that would have alarm bells absolutely clattering. If you think the Celtic fans are unhappy just now, if they fail to take care of Falkirk in their own stadium, then all hell will break loose. Rangers, as I said, notoriously flaky. They've shown no sign of being able to rattle off a kind of run of results. In comes new manager. They get the first League One at Ibrox this season, which is incredible in itself. If they can back it up, if they do go through there and get a result, then they've got real confidence starting to build heading into Hampden. If, however, they go through Edinburgh and they get another sort of sore face through there, then there'll probably be the alarm will start to set in there as well, and fears that it's the same old Rangers, it's the same old players, they can't handle it, the shirt's too heavy for them, and they'd be going to Hampden with that getting thrown at them, which wouldn't be a particularly healthy place for them. But it's where they've spent the whole season so far anyway, I guess.
Yeah. And just very finally, Keith Gravy in the comments says, I missed the Rangers game because my wife is constantly chirping. Just my luck to miss the first one at Ibrox. I've told you about this, Keith, but see, for everyone watching, see if your girlfriend or wife gets too chirpy, too annoying, you just take them to the nearest wooded area and just set them free. That's what I found the best thing to do. and just before we finish though, Keith, we can look at the I just think it's handy advice, but here's the table as it stands today.
Interesting.
God, I hope. Anyway, there's the table. Ross wants to know, the idea that Hearts are favourites to win the title is daft. Dead wrong. As we sit here, Keith, today, to wrap up the show, who are the favourites right now to win the 25-26 Scottish Premiership?
Celtic will be favourites.
Still Celtic, you think so?
Yeah, because they're serial winners. They've come through big moments and difficult moments, and they've got Brendan Rodgers in charge of it. I would strongly suspect for the rest of this campaign, they've got tried and tested winners. Medals all over the shop in Lennoxtown. So for that reason, it's still going to be. It would still register as an incredible shock if Hearts were to go on from here and actually win the title. But what I think can say quite safely at this point is that there's a challenge. It's real. It's legitimate, and there is I'm sure. So Hearts are playing midweek as well. It's a difficult one, St Mirren.
Yep.
So that so again, we're going to get another measure for them. I think Derek McInnes was already getting his players to focus right away after the final whistle. No point in doing this today if you then go and chuck 3 points away midweek. So that's fascinating to see. What do they back it up? I rather suspect they will. And then you've got Rangers and Celtic with the issues going into their games. It's just really interesting. It's just a really, really interesting set of circumstances.
It's going to be absolutely fascinating. We will be here to cover it all, starting from tomorrow, Keith, when we'll be back at 6 p.m. on the Hotline Live. But for tonight, I think that brings us to the end. Thank you so much for all the comments. We really appreciate it. And as I say, we'll be back tomorrow. We hope you can join us then. I'm going to go and hope that our producer Molly doesn't throttle me. And Keith, it's always a pleasure.
I'll do as I'm told and go and get my roast chicken out the oven, Dan.
Nice one. I'll be round in 10 minutes. Thanks for that. Thanks for watching at home. Hope you can join us tomorrow. Cheers.